There's a specific genre of content that's exploding on Instagram right now, and I think it says a lot about the structure of our economy and our relationship to technology. If you haven't noticed, a lot of Instagram users these days are resentful.
I get the camera, I take the photo, I edit the picture, and I post it to Instagram, and then I cry because no one sees it.
All that work and what did it get me?
Pay attention and you'll begin to notice videos like this everywhere. Videos and trending audios from people feeling anger or resentment that they have to create content for social media. This rage and frustration has given birth to an entirely new genre of content that I'm calling, for the purpose of this video, resentment reels. Resentment reels are videos posted to Instagram where a person overtly or subtly bemoans the fact that they have to make content.
Instagram says that I have to keep making reels to grow. So here's your reel. Ta-da!
They're mad that they have to engage in the online creator economy and then frustrated when they inevitably don't succeed. Resentment reels are often passive-aggressive and express this deep-seated annoyance with Instagram, social media algorithms, and the mechanics of virality. Every resentment reel feels like it was created under duress. This genre has become so pervasive that audios associated with major resentment reel formats consistently go viral. A perfect example of this is the "don't cry" sound that blew up last year.
Don't cry, don't cry, don't cry, don't cry, don't cry. Don't cry, don't cry, don't cry, don't cry, don't cry. Don't cry, don't cry, don't cry, don't cry, don't cry. Don't cry.
Hundreds and thousands of videos have been posted using this audio. In fact, every single time I've seen an audio that speaks to this pent-up resentment, it's pretty much bound to go viral. So today I'm going to talk about the rise of resentment reels and what each subtype of this genre seeks to communicate. Then I'm going to explain how this whole phenomenon emerged and what it says about the shifting nature of our economy and the role the internet plays in all of our lives. Over the past few decades, the entire world has been reoriented around online content. We've witnessed the birth of the content creator industry, and the media landscape has undergone a radical transformation. These days, it's not enough to just be an artist, a chef, an athlete, a stay-at-home mom, a journalist. You also have to be a content creator. I wrote an entire book about this shift called Extremely Online, which goes into this phenomenon in deep detail, but a lot of people are having a really hard time adjusting to this new reality. And you're increasingly seeing that anger seep out through the cracks on Instagram. As Rebecca Jennings notes in her fantastic piece, "Everyone's a Sellout Now," in 1997, the magazine Fast Company ran a cover story with the headline, "The Brand Called You," by a writer named Tom Peters. The gist of the story was that if you're not building a personal brand, then you're about to be left behind by the new economy that was emerging. One where career success is no longer defined by moving up the corporate ladder, but instead by individual growth and self-promotion. Though the idea was considered incredibly fringe at the time, the article was shockingly prescient. Within just a few years, the first influencers began to emerge on the internet in the form of mommy bloggers. Mommy bloggers pioneered what is now broadly known as the creator economy. These young Gen X mothers who were shut out of the traditional workforce began to amass enormous audiences online by documenting their home life. Their blog posts about the difficult, triumphant, mundane banalities of motherhood are almost indistinguishable from the type of day-in-the-life content that's commonplace on TikTok today. In the 20 years following, the content creator industry blossomed, and its rise ushered in a creator-driven niche media ecosystem. Now, thanks to the internet, there's an audience for almost anything online. In 2020, the pandemic hit and accelerated these shifts. As everyone suddenly went extremely online, it became almost impossible to opt out of the internet fame and content creator industrial complex. Tom Peters' vision was finally realized. Everyone now has to be their own media company, their own chief marketer, their own brand. But doing this work is painful, it's miserable, it's grueling, it's exhausting, and there's absolutely no guarantee of a payoff. Every resentment reel is an expression of the same underlying frustration with this new system. Many resentment reels express displeasure at how users are constantly forced to adapt to new posting formats. The shift from photos to videos is a particular pain point.
So apparently photos are dead and reels are the only thing that gets seen. So here's a 7-second reel of a photo.
Oh, a picture as a reel? Don't mind if I do.
Here you go, Instagram. Here's a photo as a reel. Put that in your algorithm.
Users are angry that Instagram is forcing them to embrace video over more static, easily produced forms of content. In resentment reels, Instagram is an apathetic boss, and these videos are all about subverting a cruel overlord who's demanding more and more content. Some resentment reels also speak to the changing preferences of users.
Very clear that the dancing and pointing at bubbles trend is out and the B-roll trend is in, so Here's what I do. Please enjoy the B-roll footage that has nothing to do with anything.
As everything in the world becomes content, we're all pressured to document more and more of our lives. Several people I spoke to in researching this video said that they felt like they had to storyboard out experiences and come up with these Hollywood-style shot lists for things that they plan to do and document. A subgenre of resentment reels actually speaks to the near impossibility of this task. For instance,
okay, so first I did like this, and then I did like this. And then I forgot to record like 12 steps, but boom, here go the final product.
I shall record every step. Oh.
Do you know how much faster I got this done because I didn't record any of the process for this stupid app?
By now, most people on Instagram have at least tried to play by the platform's rules. They've learned basic video editing, or they've put in effort to create content that they believe the almighty algorithm will reward or that followers will appreciate. Of course, most of the content on the internet is doomed to fail, and the fact that this failure happens more often has given birth to the most pervasive form of resentment reels. These videos don't just blame Instagram, they project this deep-seated frustration at the audience for not appreciating the OP's efforts. Many of these reels try to leverage self-deprecating humor in an effort to amass views. Many resentment reels highlight specific numbers and metrics. They reveal in great detail the amount of time and effort that people put into making content for Instagram. By shouting out their low metrics, they hope that the audience will take pity on them and boost their content. I have to say that I'm shocked by the specificity, but what made me really sad is that for so many of these videos, they had incredibly low like counts even by the time they came across my feed.
No question about it, I am ready to get hurt again.
Other resentment reels, such as those tied to the reduce your expectations to zero audio that went super viral last year, attempt to highlight the disconnect between how the creator imagines their art and content should be valued and perceived versus the value that the algorithm ostensibly assigns it.
Reduce your expectations to zero. Reduce your expectations to zero.
While these resentment reels offer a light guilting, others are more overt in trying to make you feel bad. It's not enough for followers to simply consume a video or drop a like in today's competitive social media environment.
Hey, if you like me as an artist, would you mind sharing my videos? You don't even actually need to send it to someone. You can just hit like copy link and the algorithm will be like, oh, this guy's a winner. Or, you know, do share them with people because
This is not a shadow ban test. This is not to see how many notifications I can wake up to in the morning. This is not an elaborate ploy to get you to comment your favorite color. This is a threat. Engage.
Another genre of resentment reels expresses anger at this always rising bar for what Instagram considers meaningful engagement. Some videos even acknowledge their blatant attempts to hack the algorithm. For example, other reels direct the audience specifically on how to interact in order to improve that video's reach.
I would rather you not like this post. Instead, hit the share button and hit copy link. It pushes it to more people.
So I probably hit your page because you like art or you're an artist. So can you do me a big favor? Like this video, comment what you think of it, and share copy link. That's all.
Audios attached to these type of resentment reels generally become very popular, probably because a certain subset of viewers do actually take the action that they're being directed to. Some resentment reels acknowledge the delusion of believing that their video or account will suddenly go viral, but they still hope that by mocking it, they'll somehow achieve it.
Remember, y'all, staying delulu is the salulu.
And what gave you the confidence?
Delusion.
Though the pressures of content creation can be felt across the entire internet and economy, the primary place where this frustration is most outwardly expressed is on Instagram. And I want to talk about why that is. For the first several years of its existence, Instagram was an escape. It was an antidote to the text-based, blog-dominated internet that came before it. It's hard to remember, but before Instagram launched in 2010, the social media landscape was dominated by words. Tumblr, very close to my heart, which was ascendant at the time, was primarily a blogging platform. And even though YouTube was beginning to emerge in the late aughts, it was still very niche. Whether you were blogging or making an early web video, posting on the internet required an enormous amount of effort, and it wasn't something that most regular people did, much less professionally. You really had to have something to say, you had to have technical skills, you had to be a strong writer, and you had to have a distinct voice and be willing to put yourself out there at a time when most people weren't. Even Twitter, which was nascent at the time, didn't allow people to easily share photos. It was hard to post on the internet. So when Instagram launched, it felt like a refuge. huge. Suddenly you could just take a picture, slap a filter on, post it, and go about your day. People clung to it because it provided this very low effort, high reward mode for self-expression. This, of course, did not last long. Cracks began to show as early as 2013 when Instagram rolled out Instagram Video to compete with an up-and-coming app called Vine. This is when the pivot to video actually began, and the content creator industry began to infect more and more professions. Content creators were sharing more video and treating these platforms like the marketing tools that they are, but photos still reigned king for average people, and to most people, Instagram still felt personal. But within a few years, by the mid-2010s, the influencer industry started to exert more influence on the app itself. Content creators ushered in this aspirational era of high-quality content. The filter was no longer enough, and people began using presets, editing tools, and platforms like Canva to create custom graphics for their Instagram stories, which launched in 2016. The pressure for perfect aesthetics reached such a fever pitch that there was a massive backlash that eventually took place. I wrote about this in a 2019 article for The Atlantic called "The Instagram Aesthetic is Dead." This shift, coupled with Gen Z gravitating towards more low-effort, relatable content, made it seem like for a brief moment, the pressure cooker era of social media was behind us. Of course, we now know it was actually just the beginning. In hindsight, you could see the growing impact of the creator economy on Instagram's average users. We were all beginning to post more and more like professional content creators, whether we realized it or not. Another story I wrote at the time, also for The Atlantic, I think exemplifies this phenomenon well. That year, a viral scandal erupted online when people accused Instagram influencers of staging photo shoots in Pripyat, Ukraine. People shared images of these self-obsessed, narcissistic content creators' Instagram posts, claiming that they were using the backdrop of the tragedy at Chernobyl to boost their personal brands by staging these marketing-style photo shoots. This scandal trended on Twitter for days. But here's the thing. None of the people involved were influencers. They were all just average people. And some of them were actually from surrounding areas of Ukraine and had as few as only 200 followers. But the way they were posing and the perceived effort that they had put into their Instagram photos made people assume that they were content creators. I think this moment is so revealing because it really showed this content creator creep, where even by 2019, we were all posting increasingly as if we were influencers. Then the pandemic hit, TikTok exploded, offering this robust set of creative tools paired with a powerful discovery mechanism, and it quickly democratized video creation, much the way Instagram had democratized photo creation a decade prior. And as everyone was pushed online, the content creator industry finally went mainstream. TikTok began minting new influencers on the daily, and every app soon rolled out a TikTok clone, including Instagram with Reels. But while TikTok is an app centered almost entirely around content creators, videos, and online attention, Instagram was not. And I think this is where the tension began to kick in. What most people were beginning to realize is that the ground had shifted beneath them. Online attention had suddenly become the most powerful form of modern currency, but amassing that attention in a video-dominant world was more competitive than ever. Suddenly, artists, small business owners, and regular users were hit with whiplash. Creating video content is not like creating aspirational photos or making some graphics for a short Instagram story or tweet. It is time-consuming, it's exhausting, it requires a level of skill and effort and frankly knowledge about the media landscape that most people don't have time for. Even those of us who have worked in media for over a decade find it hard. Hence my painfully low YouTube subscriber count. And not only are people now forced to compete against their peers for online attention, they're also competing against an ever-expanding group of full-on professional content creators who have an ability to generate high-quality videos and wield audiences on a level you and I will probably never reach. Meanwhile, centuries-old beliefs about business and how to market a product or service or art have been flipped on their head by the creator economy. Back in the day, it used to be that you develop a product, make a piece of art, pioneer a service, then go out and market that product, art, or service to people. This is how the marketing industry essentially functioned for decades. But the rise of the influencer industry changed all that, and content creators actually flipped that model backwards on its head. Essentially, they create the audience first and then market to that audience second. So instead of inventing, for instance, a new type of baby bottle and then marketing that baby bottle to new mothers, a woman can use apps like Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, etc. to build an audience of new moms and then market products directly to them. And often content creators actually develop products in tandem with their audiences, leveraging followers to make key product decisions or dictate what kind of art or service or product they should produce next. In many ways, this new model is liberatory, eliminating gatekeepers and validating the economic, cultural, and purchasing power of communities who were previously dismissed or ignored, such as many people of color, women, LGBTQ people, and other marginalized groups. But it also puts an enormous amount of pressure on the majority of people who just want to be small business owners, artists, or people first, rather than content creators. This is the driving force behind the rise of resentment reels, and I think this viral audio from last year sums it all up perfectly.
I am giving up. I am not a content creator. I am an artist. I create art. I don't keep up with trending audios. I can't keep up with trending videos. And I'm just here to share what I love to do with and what brings me joy.
It's an anger at the system, and in Instagram's case, an app that they associate with the old system of social media rather than the fame and creator-driven new model of social media that's most synonymous with TikTok. That's why there's no real equivalent of resentment reels on TikTok. An awareness of this system, or rather a resignation to it, has birthed the subgenre of kind of ironic resentment reels. The subtext of these videos is similar to other resentment reels, which is basically, I hate that I have to compete in this increasingly gamified, thoroughly exhausting, metrics-driven content creator ecosystem. But these videos acknowledge, I need attention and I'm not going to apologize for it.
I don't care what's going on. I'm going to promote my small business. Even if I'm not getting any likes, I'm going to be on here promoting my small business.
You're just posting that for attention. Yeah, obviously.
The explosion of resentment reel content and the rise of the creator economy has led to this mirror industry of social media experts, coaches, and strategists who claim to solve all of your content woes for a fee, of course. If you begin to create resentment reel content or you post videos tied to resentment reel audios, you'll inevitably be served videos like this, seeking to cure all of your ailments of low followers and no views. The sad reality is that those who do go viral often find it very anticlimactic. Internet users today are marinating in viral content, and whereas a decade ago you could get 1 million views and be bombarded with sponsorship opportunities or end up on Ellen, one-off viral content these days doesn't really usually result in any sort of significant audience growth or meaningful change in your platform. I found accounts that had posted dozens of resentment reels and were almost always let down when one of their videos did go viral. Now that we've all reached complete exhaustion with the whole system, we're seeing a lot more acceptance-based resentment reels. Don't get me wrong. The resentment is still simmering and the passive aggression is still there. But these videos seek to normalize failure, even if it's in the quest for likes. If the rise in popularity of resentment reel content represents the cycle of grief that everyone is experiencing at this new influencer-driven economy, then perhaps it's helpful to think about the rise of resentment reels through the lens of the 5 main stages of grief. First, we saw denial. People refusing to post videos, refusing to accept that Instagram and the broader social media landscape was evolving at all. Then we saw that denial progress into anger. This is when resentment reels really started to take hold. We saw that anger expressed through these passive-aggressive, snarky, frustrated audio trends and video content. Then we saw the bargaining, the engagement hacks, the reels imploring viewers to just like, comment, download just this one video. Then we saw the depression kick in, the sadness of virality not living up to expectations and feeling of futility towards the whole online ecosystem. Maybe now we're reaching acceptance, a collective admission that at the end of the day, we're all operating at the whims and mercy of a small number of billion-dollar tech conglomerates, the rich people who run them, and our broken, corrupt government that serves their interests. So what's the answer? There's unfortunately no widespread way to opt out of this system. As I write in my book, we're all increasingly pressured to commodify every aspect of our lives, our relationships, our careers, our passions, our interests, our art into shareable, marketable, monetizable content. And perhaps this was always the natural endpoint of capitalism, the commercialization of the very things that make us human. And I understand the resentment towards Instagram because I think its evolution as a platform represents this broader shift. But the truth is that Instagram is not the ultimate enemy here. And if we have resentment towards anything, it should be the economic system that forces all of us to compete for scraps of online attention while billionaires who own these tech companies get richer and the rest of us have to pump out videos on top of everything else we're doing and pray that we win the viral lottery to ensure our own economic stability. As the author Naomi Klein recently noted in an interview with The Guardian, neoliberalism has created so much precarity that the commodification of the self is now seen as the only kind of route to economic security. I would love if we could stop using the internet to find audiences and instead use it to build community. And I'm not talking about a monetizable community. I hope that people can take this pent-up resentment that they feel when they're producing these reels and instead of directing it at Instagram or their own audiences, direct it at the political and economic system that created these conditions in the first place. Ask yourself, why do we have to live in a world where in order to succeed as an artist or a small business owner or to get healthcare, you have to go viral online? This frustration we feel with Instagram and content creation is just a symptom of the broader problems with capitalism, and I think the rise of resentment reels shows how unhappy it's making all of us. I'm Taylor Lorenz, a technology and culture journalist. Please subscribe to my channel and let me know what you think about this video in the comments.